Tonight in 7 News, calls for calm on the eve of an historic chapter for Queensland education. Hundreds of thousands of students to start learning from home. One-on-one, the Premier defends Queensland's plan in her exclusive interview with Sharon Gadella. Barnaby Joyce warns Australians not to trust the government over its COVID tracking app. Accessing your super for financial relief, the experts' advice and warnings. The heartwarming ways Queenslanders will honour our veterans on an Anzac Day like no other. And lounge rooms come alive with the sound of music as stars unite from isolation.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Katrina Blowers.
Good evening. An extraordinary chapter in the history of Queensland education will begin tomorrow, with around 800,000 students preparing to learn from home. The Premier and Education Minister are calling for calm as frustrated working parents and teachers face unprecedented challenges.
Are you drawing a star?
At a time when life lessons and now school lessons are being taught under the same roof, the Ballard family is taking one day at a time.
We want to take care of our kids. They're aware of what's going on.
Ben and Beth are both nurses, essential workers. From tomorrow, 8-year-old Oliver will go to school a few days a week. His sister Elkie is off to kindy. Their parents will also homeschool while juggling work.
I had Elkie walk in on a video conference when I was at home, so I think it just shows how we're all human and that we're all doing the best that we can.
We know that day one is going to be a bit confusing for some parents and families, but please bear with us.
It is imperative that only workers and those of essential workers required in their workplace, vulnerable children and students of those who cannot be supervised are able to attend school.
That's where the confusion and frustration lies. What is acceptable supervision for children? As principals order parents who are working from home not to send kids to school.
For parents that do have concerns, please contact your school principal, contact them early.
We don't want schools putting up barriers, putting up issues in their place that makes them feel guilty about trying to continue to make sure that they are performing vital work. And in the current economic crisis, every job is vital.
And if the child of a non-essential worker is sent to school?
No school will put any child in an unsafe position.
Around 570,000 students will be resuming learning in the state school system tomorrow, and about 300,000 pupils will be following the private, Catholic and independent school curriculums. It's predicted only 10% of them will actually be returning to the classroom. That's the plan for the next 5 weeks. The state government is offering up an initial 5,000 laptops and 5,000 SIM cards. There are also 2 new hotlines for state school and early childhood families.
You're not expected to be a teacher. The teacher's job is to teach. Your job as a parent is to parent.
Bit of learning, bit of fun, do the best we can.
Kim Scubris, 7 News.
And later in the bulletin, Sharon Gadella's exclusive interview with Anastasia Palaszczuk, the Premier's views on schooling from home and much more. That is coming up soon. In just one day, Queenslanders have been hit with more than $70,000 in fines for breaking public health rules. But authorities claim those strict measures and harsh penalties are helping flatten the curve.
At Kangaroo Point, a seemingly standard Sunday morning, runners, walkers and climbers are plenty, the same at Surfers Paradise.
I think a lot of people are out and about.
And a fair few have broken the rules. In the past 24 hours, police have issued 70 infringement notices to people breaching public health directions, taking the total number of fines to 1,136, totalling at least $1.2 million since the end of March. At our state's borders, 2,700 vehicles were intercepted in 24 hours. 131 people were told to quarantine.
Our statistics show that we are, first class when it comes to combating this virus.
Only 4 new cases overnight, the total now 1,019, with none in the Torres and Cape region, northwest, southwest and central west. In Cairns, Townsville, Mackay and CQ, there are 15 active cases, the same number in the Darling Downs and Wide Bay, and in the southeast there are 226 active cases, mostly in Brisbane. One of Australia's leading immunologists says lifting restrictions is a balancing act. If we ease them too soon, we risk reversing the curve. Too late, and people will stop following the rules anyway.
We would have no control over the way that we let the virus gradually spread through the community, hopefully causing minimal disruption.
It was only 3 or 4 weeks ago that everyone was demanding that our schools close.
Who knows how it'll look in another month's time? Tom Hartley, 7 News.
Splits have emerged within the coalition over the COVID-19 tracing app, with some MPs speaking out against it. Barnaby Joyce has told 7 News he won't download the app, saying it's an invasion of privacy and doesn't trust the government with his data.
The COVID tracker app has some high-profile volunteers. The Health Minister.
I'll certainly be doing it.
And the Agriculture Minister.
I will.
But Nationals colleague Barnaby Joyce won't.
If I want the government to know where I am all the time, I'd give them a log into my Fitbit.
Isolating in his hometown of Danglemar, population 208, Mr Joyce is unmoved by the Prime Minister's appeal to a sense of national duty.
Do my duty now. Come and live in Danglemar with me. That's my duty.
Concerned about privacy and unnecessary intrusion.
I don't want the government in every corner of my life. I mean, my house has curtains, not because we're committing crimes, because we like our privacy.
The critical thing is it's voluntary and there's no government access.
The critical thing for Barnaby Joyce, and he says a large number of his constituents, they don't trust the government with their information. It's interesting, though, that you're saying that you don't trust the government with your information, but you are the government.
Oh, no, and I am part of the government, and at times we do get it wrong.
Government Services Minister Stuart Roberts slapping his colleague down.
Look, Barney, no one wants to know where you've gone, pal. We're not interested. And plus, the app doesn't do geolocation.
It's based on a Singaporean version using Bluetooth to detect and test people who've been in contact with an infected person for at least 15 minutes.
The more people on board trace together, the faster we can combat COVID-19.
Only 20% of Singaporeans have downloaded the app. Scott Morrison says we'll need 40% to get the full benefit. Do you think they only get 40%?
No.
And he believes that 100%. Mark Riley, 7 News.
The Australian government is calling for a global, independent review into China's handling of the coronavirus. Foreign Affairs Minister Marise Payne says while maintaining a relationship with China, she has concerns about its transparency during this crisis.
I trust China in terms of the work that we need to do together. The issues around the coronavirus are issues for independent review, and I think it is important that we do that. In fact, Australia will absolutely insist on that.
The United States has also raised concerns about the origin of the virus, threatening consequences if China is found to have deliberately misled the world. Queensland may be offering Virgin Australia a $200 million lifeline, but the other states are yet to step in. Aviation experts say the federal government needs to be bold to keep competition in the sector.
An unusual sight in these strange times. Passengers queued at the airport, hoping they'll be able to board.
I haven't cancelled my flight for next week yet because I just want to get my feet on the ground in Melbourne.
The Shamgar family have been trying to get to Melbourne for 2 weeks.
We've been sharing laptops and doing school together, as well as I've been working full-time remote. So it's starting to get a little bit hard, so we're keen to get home.
Judy Dubas returning from a funeral after struggling to fly north to begin with.
They cancelled it when we got to the airport and we had to fly to Sydney.
An industry disrupted, facing even more upheaval as Virgin fights to stay viable.
We definitely do not want another Ansett. The entitlements that the government will have to pay out if Virgin goes under amount to around $800 million.
The union believes that's money better spent now.
So far, no states have come forward to match Queensland's $200 million lifeline, but the Premier is holding out hope, saying it's in the nation's best interest.
That's not to say that there aren't people out there that will come forward over the next week or two. So let's keep our fingers crossed and keep working with the company.
Aviation experts say the Commonwealth needs to chip in even more.
It needs to be for both airlines and for airports as well.
To protect an industry so many rely on. Rosanna Kingson, 7 News.
In the US, some state leaders are bowing to public pressure after a second day of protests against strict lockdowns. Florida has now partially reopened its beaches, with some states indicating an ease is coming.
Honking, hollering, in a second day with little social distance. Americans demand freedom.
If we can't live, we might as well die.
Police in riot and protective gear standing by as thousands protest, insisting sweeping stay-at-home measures end.
Now, right now.
This rally promoted by a member of the President's reopening committee.
We need to be the Rosa Parks here and protest against these government injustices.
Comparing them to the legendary civil rights activist, best known for her pivotal role in the 1950s bus boycotts.
Well, there is a lot of injustice. I just think that some of the governors have gotten carried away.
How does this situation get worse? And get worse quickly? If you politicize all that emotion.
Here in New York, with still around 2,000 new patients being admitted to hospital every day, there are no plans to ease restrictions anytime soon. But elsewhere, some states look set to make their first moves to reopening within days. Crowds already back on the reopened sand in Florida, while the Vice President attended an Air Force graduation in person without a mask.
Let me tell you, this is an awesome sight.
The class of 2020 all kept at a safe distance. In New York, Paul Karak, 7 News.
COVID-19 has cancelled 500 Anzac Day services across Queensland, but veterans hope it won't steal our spirit. More than 1.5 million people are expected to light up the dawn on their driveways and remember a legacy born 105 years ago.
There's Graham Sutton at Eleanora, the young Delacourts at Ashgrove, Melina Skidmore at Banyo. They'll be staying home and standing proud this Anzac Day.
Not being with the grandkids is going to be quite different.
Graham Sutton is a Vietnam War veteran. To Charlotte and Olivia, he's Poppy. They've marched beside him and for him since they could walk.
It's pretty special that our Poppy, he came back as well, so we get to commemorate it with him.
This year, the sisters will lay a wreath 100 kilometres away. Veterans and those still serving can find Anzac Day difficult. In 2020, it could be lonely. There'll be no unit reunions, no two-up, no shared tales to limit trauma.
They're going to struggle. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of them that will struggle.
RSL Queensland has counsellors on standby and has this call to arms.
5-10 minutes and walk out your door at 6 a.m. and light up the dawn. Be a part of something that's going to be truly Australian and New Zealand.
You can play a special 10-minute service on your device. You'll hear the ode, a 1-minute silence, the last post, our anthem. The link is on the RSL Queensland website. Poppies, usually sold everywhere, are almost nowhere.
See you, bye.
Unless you are at Banyo. Toy maker Melina Skidmore has been hand-dyeing wool, drying it, cutting it so almost 1,000 people can create their own poppies and support veterans.
So they'll get $1,300 and it will help all the local veterans, which is really good.
We're strong people and our communities are more than they've ever been.
Erin Edwards, 7 News.
And 7 News is dedicated to bringing you some wonderful Anzac stories this week, uplifting stories in these difficult times to honour our veterans just as much as we normally would. The world had one remarkable distraction today as some of the biggest names in music teamed up from their homes to entertain us. More than 70 artists united to celebrate healthcare workers, forming an unmatchable lineup.
Smile though your heart is breaking.
Lady Gaga in her lounge room, kicking off a show.
We have to lean on each other for help.
Like no other.
Lean on me.
Isolated in 4 separate homes, the Stones unite one by one. Keith Richards, yes, still alive, a half-drunk beer on the table. Elton John in the backyard, belting from the kids' basketball court. And some got tricky. Keith Urban standing in for his band in the home studio.
On behalf of Nick and our girls, myself, all of us here, we say thank you. Thank you.
A rolling tribute to frontline staff.
Thank you, baby, thank you. Lady Madonna.
Paul McCartney's own mum was a nurse in World War II. He joined some 70 musicians, apart but in perfect unison. The One World Together at Home special was intended as a love note to healthcare workers. Messages of hope from across the globe.
Please be patient, stay encouraged, keep the faith, stay positive.
One from a Sydney lounge room. It wasn't a fundraiser, but corporate donations to buy equipment and support already topped $50 million before the show began.
Stand by me, stand by me.
But at a distance, which for some ain't so bad.
This social distancing thing is kind of a grouch's dream.
Emma Dallymore, 7 News.
Now to the weather, and Tony, storms have returned to Queensland.
Yes, they have, Katrina, and they've definitely packed a punch. Now, these pictures are from earlier this afternoon where dangerous supercell thunderstorms dropped giant hail up to 8 centimetres in diameter. That's similar to tennis balls or even baseballs. The main areas affected were Rockhampton and Yeppoon. Onto the radar, non-severe storms got going in the southeast earlier in the day. Then we've seen the nastiest cells further north during the course of the afternoon. At the moment, warnings are current for the Capricornia up into the central coast and also extending further north up to the Herbert and Burdekin. Katrina, I'll be back soon with the forecast.
Thanks, Tony. See you then. Well, is your family struggling to make ends meet? How you can access some of your super from tomorrow, but the warning from financial experts. Plus, a woman seriously injured after being hit by a ute at Redcliffe. Also, how low will it go? The price of petrol plummets again. And in flashback, when a town was delivered a truckload of free beer, but they had to dive for it.
We've been through tough times before,
but this one touches all of us.
We're all in this together. What will make the difference is to do our bit.
Simple actions.
like staying at home,
Keeping our distance.
Washing our hands.
Looking out for others.
that will help save lives.
And get us back to our normal way of life.
And 7 News will be there with you every step of the way.
7 News, brought to you by Business Australia.
If you're in business in Australia, right now you're facing one of your toughest challenges. It's not business as usual, and it's hard to know where to turn. Business Australia can help you manage your responsibilities to your employees, look after their health and well-being, and assist with strategies to maintain and sustain your business. We've been helping Australian businesses through thick and thin for 194 years, and we're here for you now. For free advice and support, visit businessaustralia.com.
Are you ready for takeoff?
Yes, baby.
When you're smiling.
Now that's more like it.
When you're smiling.
I think I'm going to throw up my lasagna.
The whole world smiles with you.
How amazing was that?
Welcome to 2020.
Keep on laughing, keep smiling.
This is what the world has been waiting for.
You're smiling, the whole world smiles.
Get ready. We're celebrating the extraordinary.
That is how you do it.
Brand new Britain's Got Talent. Wednesday, 7:30 on 7.
How good do they look?
I thought you loved your ute.
Yeah. It's not a ram.
Yeah, looks great. Sounds even better.
Nice truck, mate.
It's tax time. Stimulate your business now. Check your business's eligibility for the Government Instant Asset Write-Off for purchases made before June 30, 2020. The Ram 1500 pickup truck eats utes for breakfast.
as credit to you? Here's up to $120 credit from us. Add any selected month-to-month mobile plan with Vodafone and get the credit you deserve over 12 months. Find out more at vodafone.com.au. Ready?
Nothing should get in the way of your day, but Telfast knows that hay fever can strike at any time. Telfast works fast to relieve hay fever symptoms like watery eyes, a runny nose and sneezing. So you can live your life, not your allergies. Say yes to Telfast, because nothing beats Telfast for staying alert and focused when hay fever strikes.
Employees of Budget Direct. Over 20 years, you have become the country's most award-winning insurer, providing top-notch cover for more than 3 million Australians.
It's a start. 22 million to go. Will you help people get a better deal on their car insurance?
Will you fight to save Australians on their home insurance?
Oh, Karen. She loves saving people money.
Who are you?
Proudly saving Australians on insurance for 20 years. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
Tasty, affordable and delicious. What's for dinner in the next break with Coles?
A woman in her 60s has serious head injuries after being hit by a utility at the Redcliffe Peninsula. Emergency crews were called to the scene around 10:30 to find the woman still trapped beneath the vehicle.
It wasn't for that significant amount of time. I understand she has pelvic, chest and head injuries and is now being assessed at the Royal Brisbane.
The woman's husband and the driver of the ute were also both taken to hospital suffering shock. From tomorrow, Queenslanders can tap into their super accounts if they're struggling financially because of COVID-19. But experts say taking out a few $1,000s now could leave you extremely short later on.
Times are tough. Financially, businesses are shut, staff out of work. But from tomorrow, a lifeline for some. Australians can access up to $10,000 of their super and a further $10,000 from July 1.
If you have needs that need to be met and you have no other cash to access that, well, this is a viable option.
You are eligible if you're unemployed, receive a job seeker payment, or from January 1 you were made redundant or your business or working hours have been reduced by 20% or more. But financial experts say it should be a last resort.
Have a look at what other support the government has got on offer. It is very generous and it should get you through.
Industry Super Australia has done the figures. If you're 25 and withdraw $10,000, you could lose more than $62,000 by the time you retire. If you're 40, you could lose just over $32,000.
The last thing we want as a nation is for a huge cohort of people to be more reliant on the pension.
Many people are already considering accessing their super, with more than 880,000 Australians registering their interest with the ATO. You can apply online through MyGov. Once approved, your fund will pay you within 5 days. Amelia Radham, 7 News.
2 New Zealanders are suing their Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, claiming they've been unlawfully detained by the country's strict lockdown laws. It's believed the men have gone to Auckland's High Court, referring to the pandemic as a panic-demic. Lawyers for the PM argued the lockdown does not amount to detention. A driver on the run has caused a spectacular crash in Utah as he sped through a red light. An SUV landed on top of a sedan, leaving one innocent driver with critical injuries. The 39-year-old who caused the crash was arrested. He's a suspect in a violent assault and robbery. The Premier's view on homeschooling and public servant pay rises. Up next, Sharon Godella's exclusive interview with Anastasia Palaszczuk. Plus, why Boris Johnson is being accused of coronavirus complacency. A double birthday celebration for a family north of Brisbane. And after sport, how people are coming out on top during the lockdown.
Free beer, just one catch. You had to dive for it.
Couldn't get parking space around it.
Flashback 7 News coming up soon.
Ready for this?
Oh,
you're bloody kidding me.
The first whole house reveal is here.
This is just the best room I've ever seen in my life.
The incredible transformation you have to see to believe.
We give you a 10.
Not only have you changed our house, like you've literally changed our lives.
House Rules, the reveals, coming up next on 7.
G'day, Matt Stone here, still at home, and I'm going to share another recipe with everyone today. So we're going to do a poached chicken salad, but the sort of key point to this whole recipe and this whole dish is actually poaching of the chicken. So it's the best way to maximise the value out of the chicken. We're going to poach it whole. Really simple, we've just got a whole chicken. This is around 1.8 kilos. I've got 2 litres of water just in a pot coming to a boil, and I've got some garlic. I've got some rosemary, just simply because it's in the garden at the front, and just really carefully merge it in. We're going to bring it back to a boil, and we're going to turn it down to a simmer, and we're going to leave it for 20 minutes. So now we're going to turn off the heat and leave it for a further 15 minutes to cook through. This chicken's cooled down enough that I can handle it. We're just going to break it down. And as you can see, it's beautifully cooked, sort of just cooked all the way through, but really nice and succulent. Okay, so all of those bones have gone back into the pot. We'll put it onto a high heat. 2 hours, you'll have a beautiful chicken stock. So we're going to make the salad using the breast today. And this leg meat we'll keep for a couple of days in the fridge. Probably best eaten next day, but we'll keep for 2. And this would be great with some chopped up vegetables and beans to make a taco filling. It'd be great shredded and mixed with some mayonnaise to make a sandwich filling. You can put it into a curry at the last minute. So it's got multiple uses, and we're really maximising how many meals we're getting from that one chicken. This dressing, we're going to use some sour cream. Just got one top here. We've got the chopped dill, we've got some mayonnaise, dried garlic powder, and we're just going to add a small splash of cold water. And you can see we've got this kind of nice loose dressing. We'll add the seasoned mustard, just kind of a nice teaspoon. It's good to go now. Alrighty, so we've just washed these cucumbers. You can cut this however you like, really. I'm just going to do it kind of a little bit chunky-ish. So we've got these beautiful avocados. We've got our cos lettuce that's been washed really nicely. We don't want to overdress it, but we want to make sure everything's nicely coated. And we're just going to kind of layer these leaves into the plate. So we've got our avocado, we've got our cucumber, we've got some dill, we've got some croutons, got the chicken. So we're just kind of layering it all together here. We're just going to add a little bit of seasoning. Then we're going to take a bit more of the dressing. And there it is, that's my poached chicken salad. So we've got maximum value out of one chook. So we've got 4 main course portions of this chicken salad. We can get 4 main course portions using the legs in a different dish, and we're going to end up with around 2 litres of chicken stock as well. So we're using the whole animal, we're getting maximum value out of it, and making delicious food. There it is.
Looks like a man who'd be good with his hands.
What's a girl got to do to get the guy?
I like you! Do you like me too?
Home and Away, this week at 7.
Checking the latest data on COVID-19 now, and Queensland recorded 4 new cases of the virus today, bringing our total to 1,019. There are 6,586 cases across Australia. And this graph shows the number of cases recorded each day since late March. As we heard earlier, a very different term 2 begins for school students tomorrow, with tens of thousands set to learn from home. The Premier telling Sharon Godella she's confident her plans are the right move for Queensland for now.
The school holidays are almost over, but it's just the start of a long haul for parents. The official advice, stay at home and learn, except for vulnerable students and children of essential workers.
If there is a parent who is working at home and they cannot supervise their children in terms of making sure they're doing the online work coming through from their teachers and from their school, then they can ring their principal and talk to their principal about that. We're not stopping that.
The home-based learning model to operate from tomorrow for 5 weeks until May 22. By then, a decision will be made about the second half of term 2.
The teachers have a number of concerns which I respect. We have a large number of adults gathering together. They need to be socially distanced. And even though schools are safe and our schools will be open, the children of essential workers will be able to go to school to ensure that those essential workers can contribute into the workforce.
Why are you and the PM not on the same page on this?
No, we are. We are
advice?
Absolutely on the same page, and I have a lot of respect for Scott Morrison, the way he's been dealing with this matter, and I spoke to him personally about Queensland's position, and he was extremely comfortable with Queensland's position.
To assist parents, Learning at Home TV will air on 7/2 starting soon. The show's to be broadcast across Queensland to help students learn remotely.
Can I say I put a call out for the commercial networks to come on board, and I want to thank Channel 7. This is wonderful. We need to look at things differently outside the box, and for Channel 7 to come on board and to be able to provide those teaching lessons through Channel 7, a big thank you.
The Premier also appreciative of thousands of public servants in the front line of the COVID-19 battle. But for now, pay rises are still frozen in light of the huge job losses in the private sector. Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister, she came out the other day and said her and her ministers will take a 20% pay cut. Would you be doing the same here? Will you ask your colleagues to accept some of the pain of this pandemic?
I've said very clearly, and I've written to our Independent Remuneration Tribunal, that all politicians should have a pay freeze.
There'd be a revolt if they got a rise.
We're all in this together, and I know that we'll get through it.
Sharon Godella, 7 News.
The British Prime Minister has been accused of coronavirus complacency just days after being released from hospital following his own battle with the virus. While in Germany, thousands of people have spilled onto the streets of Berlin protesting against the coronavirus lockdowns.
In Berlin, where gatherings of more than 2 people are strictly banned, hundreds gathered to protest just that, claiming social distancing laws are against the country's constitution. Chanting, "We are the people," as more than 250 riot police risked their own health to disperse the crowd. No such scenes in other European capitals, rather compliance, with one poll suggesting 90% of Britons support current restrictions. But the UK government has been accused of underestimating the public by refusing to reveal how lockdown measures will be lifted. Some say the only way to ensure cooperation continues is to keep people informed. With claims they've been misled from the very start. A senior advisor to Downing Street revealing to the Sunday Times that Boris Johnson, the only world leader to contract coronavirus, skipped 5 COBRA meetings as the outbreak worsened, ignoring scientists' warnings and calls to order protective gear. Now there's a critical shortage.
I never thought I'd be in a developed country, in a first world country, wearing plastic aprons. You know, it disappoints me, but it scares me really. I'm scared for my family going home as well.
400,000 gowns are arriving from Turkey, barely enough for 3 days. In London, Sarah Greenolch, 7 News.
The price of petrol has plummeted again, with some service stations across the southeast now offering fuel for less than 90 cents a litre. Just 4 weeks ago, we were paying more than $1.45 a litre in Brisbane. Prices across the country have reached an 18-year low. For the first time in almost a century, a Brisbane woman has been forced to stay home on her birthday. But the 91-year-old's family made sure she still had a day to remember. And here are tonight's acts of kindness. Olive Clark turned 91 today and her daughter Jackie turned 57. The pair just happy to be in each other's company.
Normally we all get together. Today there's only 2 of us.
Despite having to keep her distance, Jackie says her mum has plenty of people looking out for her, even though Olive remains relatively independent.
She still drives, she still cooks for herself, her house is immaculate, her garden's immaculate.
The state government has introduced a new seniors hotline for those who don't have a support network.
Feel pretty safe, know that if I need any help, it's there for me.
People across the nation are looking out for their elderly neighbours. This bloke took no time to offer his services.
And I want to help him cut the grass because she's like 80 years old.
Not just local, but global help too. These Aussie expats in London spend their days making medical gowns. And residents in Newstead were keeping spirits up last night when Tim Wilde hosted a pandemic-safe balcony party.
Good evening, Newstead, and welcome. Welcome to Saturday night.
Creatures of all shapes and sizes joining in. Elective surgery cancellations have left thousands of Queenslanders in the lurch. How a shipment of protective masks could see operations resume soon. Plus, it was supposed to lure students, health workers and investment. So why is the Commonwealth Games Athletes Village a ghost town? Also, ace idea how two friends are keeping themselves active during lockdown. And in Flashback, the lengths people go to for free beer. Queensland needs you.
Join our Care Army to help 1 million seniors through the corona crisis.
Together, we can get through this.
Tonight on 7.
Life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
It's time to feel good. Tom Hanks in a world where nothing's impossible.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
Forrest Gump, tonight on 7.
I drive a lot. I build stuff, pull things, push things, and I hit things. And then I carry stuff.
What do you do again?
I drive a Hilux.
Australia's #1 selling vehicle, 4 years running. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Can care be better at home?
Someone from Medibank mentioned that there's a chance I can do rehab at home.
I said, oh, how much extra is that going to cost?
And they said, no, you've got it in your hospital cover. It just was fantastic for me.
No matter how they sleep, take comfort that Huggies newborn nappies with Huggies Dry Touch Layer quickly absorbs runny poos. And our super soft outer cover provides our best care for your newborn's delicate skin. Huggies, be comfortable in your skin.
NRMA Insurance has always been committed to helping Australians. And while 2020 has already been a year like no other, we remain dedicated to helping our customers through this time. While you're at home, our customer care team is on hand continuing to help, as we always will.
Mr. Murray, have you decided on a name?
We're thinking Callum.
Callum Murray.
Callum Murray.
Callum Murray.
Let's make it Jack.
Drink it through with Dare iced coffee.
Meaning. We search for it our entire lives. The meaning in our existence. Work. Beliefs. Relationships. We're consumed by a need to find it. But it's when we stop searching and start feeling. Suddenly it's there.
Cookie people, cream people, crumbs people, clean people, twist people, lick people, dunk people, munch people. It's on the play, people. If you twist, lick, dunk, then you're my people. We are Oreo people.
Checking Fuelcast now, the RACQ says despite low prices, Brisbane is still yet to reach that cheapest phase of the cycle. The average for unleaded fuel in Brisbane is 93.9 cents per litre, 92.3 on the Gold Coast. If you do need fuel for essential travel, you should still hold off to save the most. A large shipment of protective facial masks could help elective surgery be rescheduled within weeks. But surgeons warn they don't want to rush back into operating theatres unless it's safe to do so.
The soft spot on baby Gia's head closed over too early, but a complex operation to fix it was cancelled, leaving mum Victoria heartbroken.
She requires a 9-hour procedure to basically, correct her head shape. I really do hope that they can lift the ban on elective surgery.
There is now hope for Gia and 500,000 other Australians on elective surgery waiting lists after a huge influx of personal protective equipment for frontline healthcare workers.
A secure supply opens up the possibility for elective surgery to be progressively and cautiously recommenced.
Of the 66 million masks received, 22 million have already been distributed. Another 100 million will be available between now and the end of May. The Federal Health Minister also announcing an important COVID-19 milestone with 7 straight days of growth in new cases under 1%.
What it means is we now have a sustained and genuine flattening of the curve.
The National Cabinet will meet as early as Tuesday to decide when to kickstart elective surgeries. And the Prime Minister is said to be keen to resume time-critical IVF treatments as soon as possible. Good news for women midway through an IVF cycle or waiting for embryo transfers.
It will be amazing for the patients. We'll relieve a lot of anxiety.
Karen O'Sullivan, 7 News.
An extra 3 million flu vaccines are being rolled out to ensure Australians are protected from influenza and free up the health system to deal with coronavirus. The extra production will bring the country's total flu vaccine supply to 16.5 million doses. The Athletes' Village on the Gold Coast was supposed to turn into a vibrant residential and medical hub. But 2 years after the Commonwealth Games ended, many locals say it is a ghost town.
The emptiness is easy to see in the dark, just a few lights on in buildings once filled with athletes, and in others, none at all.
It was dead after the games until they redid all the apartments.
Now people live in 12 of the 19 blocks.
It really is a ghost town.
And many shop fronts are vacant.
Unlike London, where there was a real reinvigoration of a poorer part of London, it hasn't worked to the same extent here.
Units are being released gradually to avoid flooding the market. They're mostly rented by hospital workers and students at Griffith University across the road.
Hopefully down the track, in the years ahead, we will see the return of large numbers of international students and it will be utilised.
A health and knowledge precinct was planned for the land next to the former Athletes' Village. It was hoped it would attract biomedical and pharmaceutical companies, but it remains empty. The government estimates it'll take 15 years to fully develop the land.
This is the white elephant, this empty block. This was meant to be thousands and thousands of jobs.
Residents say it wasn't always this bad. Does it ever get busy around here, though?
Yeah. Before COVID-19, yes.
Alex Lewis, 7 News.
Coming up, a rooftop racket, how ingenuity is flourishing during the lockdown. And not to be missed, it is the stuff dreams are made of. The town gifted a truckload of beer. Let's check Sunday sport now. Here's Shane.
Thanks, Katrina. Hello, everyone. Ahead, critical manoeuvring from the power brokers of cricket and the ARL. League's bad boy working hard to salvage his reputation. And the pandemic's silver lining for Australian swimming's Sister Act.
Are you ready for this? Oh, you're bloody kidding me.
The first whole house reveal is here.
Not only have you changed our house, like you've literally changed our lives.
House Rules, the reveals, coming up next on 7.
Oh, I just went and got some milk. Just like a chocolate milkshake, only crunchy.
Who won the race to the shop?
I did.
Just a few weeks ago, confirmed cases of coronavirus doubled every 3 days. But by restricting travel, keeping our distance and staying at home, we're slowing the spread and saving lives. Sadly, some people aren't getting the message, putting us all at risk. Putting your life on hold for now is hard. Dealing with coronavirus is harder. Download the app. Visit australia.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
If you're not addicted to Stan's Billions yet...
Pick sides. If you're not on mine, you're gone.
You will be.
Vengeance will be happy.
Money. Greed. Power. Betrayal.
Whoever you're trying to destroy, stop.
Too much Billions is never enough.
We will fight hard!
Watch every episode now and get ready for the brand new season of Billions, May 3, only on Stan.
Is frequent heartburn interrupting your life, causing you to reach for short-term relief over and over again? There is a better way. Unlike antacids that often require multiple doses per day, Nexium 24-hour provides longer-lasting protection from frequent heartburn with just 1 tablet a day. Nexium 24-hour provides round-the-clock protection. Live life less interrupted. Get Nexium 24-hour for a great price at Chemist Warehouse.
With more than 20% protein from muscle development, Nutri-Grain is one of the highest protein cereals.
A lot has changed over the last few months, but globally, Allianz Group's commitment to serving its 100 million customers around the world hasn't. As part of this global network, Allianz Australia has been supporting our customers through uncertainty and change for over 100 years. So you can rely on us to be here for you now and in the future to ensure what matters most. Because our support doesn't stop here.
You're right there for every heart-pounding emergency.
That's the biggest damn fire I've seen.
New 911, Monday on 7.
This sports report brought to you by Allianz.
The Queensland government's still awaiting a formal approach from league bosses, but the Premier isn't swaying from her stance on the proposed May 28 restart to the NRL season. Despite strict border controls, ARL boss Peter V'landys is confident his Project Apollo team can formulate a plan to appease Queensland authorities.
They indicate in the paper that they would seek a meeting with us and we would have a meeting. It's all going to depend on the health advice. I've been very clear with that. So, yes, the door's always open, but it depends where we are, in what month and what the health advice is.
Any plans would include firmly enforced self-isolation protocols, empty stadiums and charter flights. He's league's bad boy, twice suspended last season for eye gouging, but Raiders youngster Hudson Young is on the road to redemption. The 21-year-old's using the COVID-19 lockdown to make a difference as a carer for men with disabilities.
Raiders rookie Hudson Young is on the front line during the corona crisis, volunteering as a much-needed support worker in his hometown of Newcastle.
I'm pretty passionate about taking care and that sort of people. Just being able to have a laugh with them sort of blokes that sort of don't have it as easy as we do playing NRL each week.
Hudson's part of a team that assists clients with mental illness or a disability cope with independent living.
Words can't express how grateful we are. If Ricky was here today, I'd shake his hand and just say, look, yeah, from the bottom of my heart, mate, thanks.
When he walks in the front door, he really wants to learn, he's really eager, he's really keen, and I think he's a part of the team.
Top of the notch dude, yeah. That's what there is to it, kind of thing, like, yeah, top dude.
While Hudson's now a hit in this residence, he became a household name for all the wrong reasons when he copped an 8-week suspension for eye gouging, not once, but twice.
Hudson, it certainly wasn't a good look, was it?
No, it wasn't. I think it was a grubby action, and I've worked hard to remove it out of my game, and I think I've done that.
Well, you've had some hard conversations with Ricky Stewart.
He's made it pretty clear that if it happens again, then I'd say I'll be shown the door.
Hudson still struggles with the embarrassment the incident caused his family.
Incredibly tough for my little brothers and my family, especially with Nan and Pop and Mum and Dad and that sort of stuff. They were heartbroken.
The incident saw the 21-year-old miss out on the chance to play in the Raiders' grand final, but the hardest thing is, because of COVID-19, his 8-week suspension has no end date. Michelle Bishop, 7 News.
The Cricketers Association says it's essential Cricket Australia opens its books as fears mount the game is headed for another messy pay dispute.
Cricket Australia showing us the direction of the game and the financial transparency is paramount, so we can talk through that with the players.
Players know the revenue sharing model for which they fought so hard will come back to bite them, with CA suffering a cash flow crisis.
The reality is that's the model we agreed to, and as I said, it goes up and down, and if they need to hold up their side of the bargain, they will. But it is important that we understand the detail underneath that.
Cricket Australia has revealed it could run out of money in 4 months. The sports shutdown has done the unthinkable. It split swimming superstars Campbell sisters. Kate's home here in Brisbane, while Bronte stayed in Sydney, revealing that the postponing of the Tokyo Games instead of cancelling saved both their Olympic farewells.
Superfish out of water, swimming's great sister act is now separated by a state border lockdown.
What I miss most is actually swimming.
My DIY was a veggie patch, and 2 days into it, the vegetables are still alive.
With nowhere to swim, Kate's gone back to Brisbane, living with friends and encouraging them to train with her in the backyard.
Most importantly for us swimmers, my dad came and installed a chin-up bar for me, so I'm a happy camper.
Bronte's in lockdown in Sydney, where the Campbells moved with coach Simon Cusack to help grow their sport with N-Swiss.
I don't think many people want more time to prepare, but I'm looking at it that way. Hopefully then, by the time the Olympics come around in 2021, I'll be even more ready to go.
Sprint swimming's not kind on shoulders. Just 27, Kate had virtually confirmed Tokyo would be her fourth and last games. At 25, Bronte now reveals that postponing instead of cancelling saved her Olympic swan song too.
I don't think I'm going to be swimming in another 4 years' time. I can do another year, but another 4 years is a lot to commit to, so that would have been incredibly heartbreaking.
As always with Kate and Bronte, there's real perspective about the chase for individual gold.
In light of what's going on in everyone else's lives, that's not that big a deal.
I still have that future and that goal to work towards. Some people's livelihoods have been completely destroyed.
But hopefully for all of us, we're back to normal soon. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Katrina, that's our weekend sport.
Thank you, Webby. Well, here is another example of how ingenuity is flourishing during the lockdown. 2 women in Italy decided to make a rooftop racket playing a game of tennis from neighbouring buildings. Staying active, having fun and adhering to social distancing guidelines. Good on them. Well, how far would you go for free beer? We flash back to when a town was gifted a truckload, but people had to dive for it.
Looks like it's time to dust off the snorkel. Storm warnings remain current in Queensland this evening, but what about the week ahead? I'll have the forecast. That's coming up next.
It seems like everything around us has been turned upside down.
The change we've witnessed in our lives is staggering.
The types of restrictions I never thought I'd see in my lifetime.
We need a place to turn to for answers.
Teachers prepare for term 2.
All the facts.
If there's a spike, border closures could get even tougher.
What you need to know now to be right for tomorrow.
Finally on their way home.
Your definitive source. Turn to 7 News at 6 o'clock.
Are you ready for this?
Oh, you're bloody kidding me.
The first whole house reveal is here.
This is just the best room I've ever seen in my life.
The incredible transformation you have to see to believe.
We give you a 10.
Not only have you changed our house, like you've literally changed our lives.
House Rules, the reveals, coming up next on 7.
When you start with pork mince, who knows where you'll end up? Get some pork on your fork.
Employees of Budget Direct, over 20 years, you have become the country's most award-winning insurer, providing top-notch cover for more than 3 million Australians.
It's a start. 22 million to go. Will you help people get a better deal on their car insurance?
Will you fight to save Australians on their home insurance? No, Karen. She loves saving people money.
Who are you?
Proudly saving Australians on insurance for 20 years. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
Head to Macca's right now if you're looking for a treat and get a creamy McFlurry for only $2 or a McValue Family Box for $24.95. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.
Discover your connections to the men and women who served our country. Learn how old they were and the battles they fought. Connect with the people and places that led to you. Start searching for free at ancestry.com.au.
In a world full of flavour, don't let your denture leave you with bad breath. Try new Polydent cleansing wipes, our quickest and easiest way to refresh your denture for that super fresh feeling, at home or out and about.
With Australian tuned suspension, the Hyundai Tucson is made for it. Even if you're not.
Years of relentless improvement have led to pioneering Dyson technology, now re-engineered into a bigger format for faster deep cleaning. Only a Dyson works like a Dyson.
Employees of Budget Direct, over 20 years, you have become the country's most award-winning insurer, providing top-notch cover for more than 3 million Australians.
It's a start. 22 million to go. Will you help people get a better deal on their car insurance?
Will you fight to save Australians on their home insurance? No, Karen. She loves saving people money.
Who are you?
Proudly saving Australians on insurance for 20 years. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
Today's main stories now. Tomorrow marks a new chapter in the history of Queensland education, with 800,000 students to learn from home. Australia's COVID-19 death toll has risen to 71. Only 4 new cases have been reported in Queensland. And the One World concert has already raised more than $150 million for frontline health workers. Tonight in 7 News Flashback, free beer and plenty of it. But there was only one catch. You had to dive for it. Rod Young reports.
Well, forget the Easter eggs. Murwillumbah residents were on the hunt for free alcohol today. And they found it at the bottom of the Tweed River.
And this is what they were chasing. 2,000 cartons of Tuies plus imported beers and spirits. Lost when a truck plunged into the Tweed. The salvage company was ordered to remove the truck immediately and return after Easter for the load. Residents had another plan.
Resourceful locals soon cottoned on and have been heading to the river in droves, going to great lengths to cash in.
Oh, I'm pretty stuffed now. I've been here for 4 odd hours, so I've got to go home and get something to eat.
A few sore heads, you might think.
Looks like he deserved a drink, didn't it? More than one drink. What unfolded here on Easter Friday would last for weeks. The story's captured in a short film called Murwillumbah Swamp Beer, which won a 2002 Tropfest award.
Fairly ironic, isn't it? You can't buy beer on Good Friday, and here it is in copious quantities.
Now there's people from like Queensland to Victoria coming through New South Wales going, what the hell is going on?
You couldn't get parking space around it.
Police turned a blind eye.
Get in there and steal it while you can.
As far as they're concerned, they were concerned they weren't stealing it. But from a technical point, as far as the law goes, it is stealing by find. That's the name of the offence.
And you couldn't get the beer without a plan.
You go under your bodyboard, and the next thing you know, people will just be grabbing off the top of your bodyboard and putting it in their own crate. So you had to have someone kind of on the bank, someone with the car, holding all the beer, and 2 divers with 1 person in the water with them. So you kind of had to work as a team when you were getting it.
And this team worked better than most. The Murwillumbah Mustangs under-19s.
In the next few weeks, they were all drinking beers before training, after training, before football, after football.
After Easter, salvage crews returned for the beer.
By the time they sent the divers down to get the rest of it, there was none left.
It was stashed across town. And just like the pub with no beer, the legend of the Murwillumbah beer truck will live on for generations. As for the Mustangs, the event changed the course of their entire season.
After the crash, we didn't have any wins, I think.
You actually couldn't make that stuff up. It is time for weather now. Here's Tony Auden.
Thank you, Katrina. I'm feeling a little thirsty after that, but onto the weather, and we've seen some huge storms across eastern Queensland today. Having said that, pretty quiet in the southeast. A cloudy scene here at Redcliffe Jetty earlier. Now, we saw some showers through the morning, non-severe storms through the middle of the day, especially north of Brisbane. It was a bit cooler thanks to the cloud and drier westerly winds, at least early on. Brisbane reached a top of 25 degrees, the Sunshine Coast just 23. Onto the radar, storms are still firing away further north. Warnings current for areas north of Mackay at the moment. That's after supercell thunderstorms dropped hail up to 8 centimetres around Rockhampton and Yeppoon earlier. Now, zooming out, those storms are thanks to a trough and an upper trough, which you can't actually see on the map here. Dry conditions through western parts of the state. Now, tomorrow, that upper trough actually clears away off the coast, so it will be much quieter here in Queensland. A cold front sweeps across southeastern states, and warnings are current there for damaging winds. And along with that wind, the front will bring some rain to Melbourne and Hobart, a top of just 16 degrees for Hobart. Adelaide looking at some early showers clearing. Back to Queensland, a possible sprinkle in Weipa, but otherwise all pretty quiet around the traps. 32 degrees for Cairns and Townsville, 29 in Mackay. Heading south, sunshine returns, and that's thanks to dry southwesterly winds. They will also allow things to cool down tonight, enough for some patchy frost down towards the Granite Belt. 2 overnight, up to 22 degrees in Stanthorpe. Across the southeast, it'll also cool down tonight, enough for inland spots to reach single figures, a bit warmer overnight on the coast. Then tomorrow, a mostly sunny Monday, a bit of high cloud into the afternoon, and a little bit warmer. 29 the top in Ipswich, 28 in Beaudesert, and across the metropolitan area, mostly sunny tops in the mid to high 20s, though it will feel pretty cool, especially in the morning with those dry southwesterly winds. They'll turn onshore and bring some more humidity in the afternoon and make it feel that little bit warmer. The same story in Brisbane, a cool morning, warmer into the afternoon, 14 up to 27 degrees. Then looking further ahead, and we're looking at conditions warming up to 30 degrees by Wednesday. That'll be the peak for the next week. In Ipswich, nights warming up from tomorrow night, then temperatures during the day up to 32 on Wednesday. Gold Coasters warming up to 28 degrees from Thursday onwards, and on the Sunshine Coast, fairly stable amongst those warm conditions right through the course of the next week. Katrina, it's back to you.
Thanks, Tony. That is all from us this Sunday. Thanks for your company from all the team. Have a great night.
Previously on